Hi, I'm Connor Pendergrass from CustomerSuccess.cx, and welcome to episode 8 of Support Stack. So, Tobi Davis, Head of Customer Experience at Pupil Progress, you're back for a third episode. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Pleasure.
I'm excited to learn more about this one because I think this is probably more relevant to smaller organizations, but I think we have a lot more smaller companies in the world than big companies in the world, and small companies where people are trying their best with limited resources. So tell me, with like last episode, if people saw it, that was episode 7 actually it was. We were talking about how you and the support team helps to increase the likelihood that things will go smoothly when there are higher risk situations with schools. Not high risk, but in terms of churn and renewal and smoothing through difficult periods of time. But there are other ways in which your team and the success team, customer success team and customer success managers, how you collaborate and work together. Can you give us a bit of an idea about where this started?
Yeah, absolutely. And the first thing I'll say, and I know we will come to this in the next episode, but using Fin and adopting Fin as a sort of first point of call really has really changed support for us in a lot of ways, and I think made it more enjoyable for our team and more impactful for our users as well. And the reason why I say that is that we used to get a lot more simple stuff coming through to us than we get now. You know, for us, that would be things like, how do I change the grade boundaries? How do I add an assessment? Sort of these things that, you know, okay, that comes through, hashtag, whatever the macro name is. Yeah. And then
send, done.
Send, done, and we're all good. Still get those every now and again, which is obviously a couple of episodes ago we were speaking about our resource packs, but nowhere near as much as we used to, because obviously Fin's taking a lot of that time. And so as a result of that, what we are getting is actually a lot more consultative things coming through on support, right? And things that, you know, really require that sort of deeper level of understanding and are our users on that next level of adoption, asking, you know, why, if I put this number in here, is this number coming out here? Or why, you know, is your tracker set up this way? Our trackers are all specific to the exam board, but obviously there's always some things that are kind of open to discretion. And so, you know, the questions that we're getting coming through are, you know, I teach French, for example, and I teach it this way, but your tracker's set up this way, and sort of trying to find that middle ground, that balance. And so that's something that, you know, would come up every now and again, but for the most part were conversations that were handled by our customer success team on those kind of health checks or adoption calls, or, you know, even visits to the schools to meet the school subject leaders and run through those there. But sort of we came to a bit of a realization just before the summer that our support team are actually already having a lot of these conversations. You know, a lot of things that would traditionally go through customer success are coming through support, just because, you know, support is lowest barrier to entry for our customers, right? It's the easiest place for them to go and get a response. And those conversations are really positive. Our team are answering those questions really well. And, you know, are certainly capable of doing that. So from there, it's kind of a case of, okay, you know, as you mentioned in the beginning, Connor, we're a relatively small company. You know, we would love, I'm sure you could speak to every one of my colleagues in the leadership team, and they would tell you 5 people that they would want to hire immediately. But, you know, we're not in the position to do that. So how can we maximize the resources that we have with the really, really fab team that we have at the moment? And one thing there for us is almost a case of looking at, okay, what kind of conversations are support having? What kind of conversations are customer success having? Well, customer success are having conversations about revenue, about renewal, the kind of brass tacks of things, and making sure that, that the kind of contract is renewed, the lights stay on, etc., etc. And, each of our customer success managers are super, super busy. They've got quite a large portfolio of schools. And, they, at the end of the day, they need to be sort of having those conversations.
And
So
focused on those conversations. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. So, what can we do? Well, in support, we're already taking a lot of the other conversations that they're having, right? The ones that are more adoption, engagement, specific questions to sort of solve specific adoption issues. And so, what we kind of set up was really born from the idea of supporting our CSMs, and sort of looking at things that they can take off of their plate, so that the CSMs can focus on those conversations that only they can have.
Yeah. And so you've said the word collaborative quite a bit, and
Yes,
that's what you defined. If it was a collaborator between a collaborator to work alongside your customer success manager.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. So you can see I've just popped up here a workflow that we have on Intercom with our members of the team. And again, sort of, if you watch the last episode, you'll know that a lot of what we do from the customer success and sales side is on HubSpot, and it's only really our support team who are working from Intercom.
Yeah.
So you will see what we have on here is the collaborator is a member of our support team who is, essentially kind of supporting the CSM with that account, with that particular deal. So if something's coming through that is someone needs a training call, or someone needs some kind of adoption support, that CSM's super busy, it would be a quicker, smoother customer experience to get from support. That's a person that the account manager, the customer success manager, can go to kind of lean on and get support from there. So
right. So in HubSpot, which you use as Pupil Progress uses as the CRM, as your CRM,
that's right.
You've defined that each school has a collaborator, and the collaborator is someone from the support team. So is it everyone, or is it targeted to specific kind of schools?
It's everyone. However, there are some kind of differences in how we divvy them up, obviously, depending on
of course,
other responsibilities. So, say for example, we have a colleague in the team who is sort of team lead and has a lot of organizational admin responsibilities. She will have fewer schools that she's the collaborator on, and other sort of specialisms and time that needs to be protected for other things will mean that the number of schools or the amount of this type of workload is will vary.
There's less time available. Okay, so the HubSpot the collaborator on HubSpot gets pushed over to Intercom, and that gets set as the company level in Intercom, and then this workflow comes through and it pushes that on it says, so that's a conversation attribute that gets pushed onto the conversation.
That's absolutely right. So it gets pushed as a conversation attribute. And saying this, what we are sort of not doing, I suppose, is having all of the support conversations go through the collaborator. In terms of our support, processes, the way that we manage our queue, that kind of hasn't changed. That's still the same. It's, you'll be scheduled for Intercom queue, for example, and you take the conversations as they come in, or, as whatever the appropriate level of priority is, as we spoke about in the last episode. But what it does mean is that when you're in the inbox and, our customer success managers and our collaborators will be in regular contact about some of these accounts, some of these schools, it means that you're really able to see the outstanding conversations that are open with, with contacts from that school that you're working with. So anything that is potentially, that we're a bit behind on, or that we're waiting on something for, or whatever it might be, so that either the customer success manager knows if they have a meeting with that school about something, they can preempt questions they might get from the leadership within the school. Or, you could even sort of drill down one step further there and start looking at things like CSAT, CX Score, and sort of try to paint that bigger picture for your schools that you're the collaborator on. And then, if you've got some time to support the customer success manager, and you haven't necessarily got a specific list of actions that need doing, you can maybe start to identify some of those schools that could benefit from that bit of extra adoption support.
That's great. So maybe to reiterate that point, it doesn't mean that every conversation that you're a collaborator on gets assigned to you, but it does mean that you have a way of looking and saying, okay, well, I see that there are, for those watching the video, you've got the collaborators. One of your many views in Intercom in your inbox is the collaborators one. And so if Holly, for example, is working the inbox and sees, oh, well, it's quiet in my own inbox, but I see that there are 5 of my schools, the ones that I collaborate on, are open there. I'm going to take a look and see if there's anything that I can, like, maybe I'll just take it over. It's a continuation of a conversation that I saw and it's going fine, but I have a small bit of extra context. And then similarly, if there's another person who's working with a school and it's a conversation that maybe they think Holly should engage in or should see, then they'll see that on the right hand side through the conversation data, and we'll know that Holly's the right person to go to. I thought it was really interesting what you mentioned a second ago, though, about that sort of proactive piece, or that the like reporting piece, where it does give the ability to go and look at reports specifically about the companies that you work with. And the CX Score one is really interesting because CSAT is useful, surveyed CSAT is useful, but it has such low response rate that using the CX Score, which Intercom calculates for every conversation it can, means that you get basically like every conversation gets that score, and you can go and say, okay, well, of the companies I collaborate on, which conversations are getting low CX scores, and then dig into that and try and spot if there's like a pattern that shows a poor setup, for example.
Yeah, this is it's absolutely right what you say, and I think all of these things, and really the way that we try to set up our Intercom workspace and structure our agent's day is born from, my belief that the role of being a support agent is so different to what it was even like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, right? Whereby you'd log on, you'd sort of get through your conversations, you get to the end of the day and you do the same thing. Where AI is super useful, as we speak about, is taking those quicker, easier things. But it means that support, in my opinion, is more of a value driver than it always has been, but more than it ever has been, because what we're doing is we're actually creating the scope for that to be part of our support agent role, right? Where it's like, okay, you're solving customers' problems, but then you're going above and beyond and identifying where problems maybe weren't solved or where things were going wrong, and acting on that there and then. That's not just the responsibility of, say, the support manager anymore, and instead everybody's able to have that agency about their own day, about their own schools that they work with, and I think is really a lot more fitting for the kind of the age that we're in, and the things that AI is really good at, because AI is really, really good at answering questions like this. Our team are really, really good at going deeper, understanding deeper on what schools need, what the adoption problems are, how to solve them. And so support is really kind of, accelerated, I suppose, into a truly proactive model, a truly kind of above and beyond model to, aid adoption, and ultimately impact renewal revenue as much as possible.
That's fantastic. I think this is a really innovative way of taking the skills and the insights and the experience and the knowledge that your team has from working with so many schools and so many people in those schools, and working just in your product as well, obviously, but having all of that knowledge and having it applied in a really proactive and productive and helpful way for all of your schools and customers. I think it's brilliant. Tobi, thank you very much for walking us through this. This has been really helpful. If anyone's watching this and they're like, oh, I want to see more of that Tobi Davis guy, what how could they find out more about you or about Pupil Progress?
Yeah, well, you're more than welcome to send me a message on LinkedIn, send me a connection request on LinkedIn. Quite proud of what we've set up here, so more than happy to answer any questions. But yeah, if you want to find out more about Pupil Progress, just type it into Google, and if our SEO is doing its job, then it all should come up.
Thank you very much, Tobi. That's great. And if you would like to see future episodes of Support Stack, just subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/@support-stack. If that's too much of a mouthful for you, go to customersuccess.cx/daily, where you'll find my week daily email list, and you will get every single thing that you might desire about Support Stack emailed right into your lovely little inbox, as well as any other things that are coming to mind and I think you'll find useful about intercom or customer support leadership. Other than that, have a delightful rest of your day. Toodaloo. Bye.
Bye-bye.